I have a confession to make. I'm a secret boss of Warframe. It's crazy to think how much this game has changed since it launched 13 years ago. It truly was so different back then. Trying something new, a live service game with constant updates and a free-to-play model, we had no idea back then the absolute behemoth of a game it would become. But now Warframe is the absolute behemoth it became, and with the live service model, there's no way to go back and play that game that once was. Warframe, as it was in 2013. Is what I would have said a week ago before I learned about OpenWF. Yeah, so it turns out a bunch of guys have just been archiving every Warframe version they can get their hands on, and then writing patches and server emulators so that you can just download the game, patch it, and then spin up your own private server of that version of Warframe. They have almost every version of Warframe you would want to experience, all the way up to the first version released on Steam, Update 7.3 Stormbringer. It's not old enough that it's before mods were a thing, but it is old enough that it is an extremely different experience compared to modern Warframe. And best thing of all, it's all free. Open source, and you don't even have to do any weird stuff to get the old versions of Warframe. Like, look, here. See on this page how it says Steam Manifest next to the download? That's because you download the old version of Warframe through Steam. Steam has all of these old versions of the game, and you just download them. Now, normally I would be hesitant when talking about something like this. I mean, you're telling me I can play old versions of a game, giving myself all of the credits and platinum I want, using cheats to have God mode and enable free cam, skipping the whole star chart, getting all the cosmetics, or even having access to unused, beta, or deprecated content, all completely for free?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Though, I think if we were talking about any other large company, this would be something that's extremely hush-hush. But this is DE we're talking about here. They don't really seem to be that kind of company that would fear players having access to private servers of old versions of the game. That and, well, they're private servers. This isn't a free platinum cheat. The reason why you're able to give yourself platinum is because it's your server. This has nothing to do with DE, nor the live Warframe servers, and if anything, if a player only wanted to play Warframe, either on an old version or completely for free, and they're willing to play entirely alone or with a handful of friends to do that, why should DE care? They've got loads of players who are willing to pay for cosmetics or otherwise, myself included. It's not like they're hurting on that front, and it's also not like the current version of the game is unpopular either. So, yeah, go check it out, openwf.io. I'll leave a link in the description too. The site has instructions on how to install everything, but fair warning, if you're trying to play the super old versions, like Update 7 or 8, you might want to use the WF Classic server emulator instead of Space Ninja server. I had an issue with Space Ninja where I got out of the tutorial and didn't have the mods to give me the abilities for Excalibur, which meant I had to kill enemies until I found them, since Space Ninja server didn't have the item IDs in its database, so I couldn't give myself the items. Yeah. Also, Space Ninja server requires a bit of finagling to get set up. It makes you download Git, Node.js, and MongoDB, presumably because the latter two are what the emulator runs on, so you'll need to do a bit of command prompt work to get it set up. You'll also need to run the game once via command prompt with a special code to link it to your private server, but once it's up, and it runs great. Oh, and remember, these are all fan-created server emulators, so they're not perfect. One issue I was having with my version specifically is that I can't seem to sell items for credits or buy the random mod bundles on the market for platinum. Whatever functions the server asks for that makes those work, WF Classic doesn't have. But I mean, come on. Real ninjas farm mods. Also, sometimes when completing a mission, it'll tell you that your data wasn't updated. If that happens, it means you've been desynced from the server. I don't know what causes that, but if you log out and log back in, that fixed the issue for me. And that's it. That's how you can host private servers of old versions of Warframe. Now for the real question. which version to play. Here are my recommendations. First up, update 7.9 Stormbringer. This is if you want to play Warframe Classic before bullet jumping, before syndicates, before damage 2.0, before void keys. If you want to know what Warframe was like back in 2013, this is probably the best version. And I picked this version specifically because on the GitHub page for WF Classic, it even mentions that there's a public-private server for this exact version. I haven't checked it out, so I don't know if it's still up, but hey, worth a shot. Maybe there's some people on there. Next up, Update 14, the Mad Cephalon. This is what I would consider the Minecraft Beta 1.7.3 of Warframe. It has Damage 2.0, introduced in Update 11, but it's not so new that it has Parkour 2.0, which was added in Update 17. In addition to that, it's also old enough where void keys are still a thing. Yeah, remember those? If you wanted to have a few more features, you could push it to version 15.14, the Eyes of Light, getting access to archwings and a couple bug fixes. And I think lastly, Update 21, Chains of Harrow. This is the last update before Warframe entered the doldrums that were the open world area updates. Plains of Eidolon, Fortuna, Deimos, and the abysmal Railjack update. I think past this point, the updates are firmly within modern Warframe territory, where Warframe as a whole shifts away from focusing on the origin system and more on small niche content islands that people only really play once and then abandon. This is the last update that I would say still has a bit of old Warframe left in it. Namely that the endgame of this update is farming sorties for ribbon mods, and the Corpus tileset is still the old one that got replaced in Update 28. Past that, I wouldn't bother. At that point, just log on Warframe Live and play that. Unless you really want to experience on-launch Railjack or something. Ugh. But, yeah. OpenWF.io. Links in the description, please check it out. Old Warframe is weird, but it's also neat in its own way. Very cool to see and extremely nostalgic to play again after all these years. Now if only we could get something similar for Path of Exile.